Oh, hello everyone and welcome again.
G'day.
So, very special episode this on a Thursday night.
That's right.
So this is our episode 86. So we've been live for a long time now, but tonight we have a super special guest. Welcome, Jeff.
We
Thanks,
do.
guys. Coming in. Thank you.
And
Welcome in, Jeff, and introduce us to yourself. Introduce you to our viewers.
I'm Jeff Hamon. I race RC cars and work for Serpent and J-Spec Stickers.
Brilliant.
How cool is that? That sounds like a cool job to have.
Very cool.
And the reason that you're joining us tonight is because you've flown into Victoria this weekend because you usually reside up where the pineapples are in Queensland there.
Nice human Queensland, yeah.
You've come down to visit us and you've got a big race on this weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, it's actually our first race in about 2 years for a flyway. It's the Victorian State Championships for the IC cars.
Yep.
So we're racing 1/10 scale and 1/8 scale this weekend, and it runs from Friday through Sunday.
Brilliant. So for those who are joining us, there's a few people jumping online now. So we have Jeff tonight, special episode, and we're going to talk about these super cool cars. It's not something we see very often anymore, and so we thought it was a perfect opportunity to just show everyone something, probably the Formula One of the RC racing.
Yeah, it's always seen as top shelf, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the premium class.
Absolutely.
It is the most prestige RC racing, isn't it? 8-scale pan car is just next level. A, it's expensive. B, it's super fast. And C, it's just, long races and pit changes and tyre changes and makes for a really entertaining aspect of our hobby.
Absolutely. So tonight we're going to have a chat with Jeff, just get a bit of his background, and then we're going to look in detail to each of the two cars that we have here tonight. So Brett, I'll leave with you to carry on and have a chat with Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. So how long have you been racing for, mate? Like how long does it take to be a professional racer?
My father got me involved in racing when I was 7. So that was many years ago. I would say I've been racing on and off for about 19 years now.
Yep. And predominantly in the Nitro on-road market?
Yeah. So my father got me into Nitro straight away because that's what he was into. And I guess I dabbled in a few different things over the years with electric and off-road and on-road, but mainly Nitro on-road, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that said, though, Serpent, who you drive for, you're a factory representative of, they make class-leading products in off-road, 8-scale, 10-scale, pretty much all aspects of RC, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really fortunate to work for them and represent them across all their platforms, which include, that we run even down to 1/12 scale electric, which you guys, pan cars, Formula One, all the off-road classes. So we do short course, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive buggy, all the way up to 8 scale and the bigger ones, So
Serpent's actually a very well-renowned brand. It's been around for a long time that some people may not realize.
Yeah, absolutely. They have mainly stayed in the racing sort of market and scene. That's why it's a little bit, less heard of than some of the mainstream that have gone for hobby style products. But all their stuff is high quality and top notch. Yeah.
I guess for those that have been in the hobby for a long time, they probably have seen some form of Serpent at some point in life. When racing was, big back in 90s, probably was it around there?
Yeah, for sure.
Serpent was probably one of the leaders in the market. So definitely, many people have lived some Serpent cars over the years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first Nitro car I personally ever drove was a Serpent Impact 2. So that was a two-wheel drive 10 scale 235mm pan car out at Liddell, and that was like mind blowing at the time. And that had a 0.15 mega bump start motor in it, and that was like almost like a ready to run class, a junior category to the 8 scales. Unfortunately, I never progressed quite up that far, but that was a really cool and popular class. And I think Serpent went through a bit of a transition. I'm not sure exactly what year. I know Jeff will know that year, where they actually changed ownership because they were out of European. They started as a small Dutch company, didn't they, Jeff?
Yeah, they did. So I'm pretty sure Peter Bovlitz founded Serpent, and Michael Salvin, who's still with us as the lead designer. He was part of it at some stage as well. I don't know the complete history and the backstory of Serpent, but yeah definitely was born in the Netherlands, and has progressed from there.
Yeah, and since then, they've got into 10th scale electric off-road, and 8th scale electric and nitro off-road as well, I suppose. So, like we said before, they do really cover everything. So it's really cool that they've got such a broad reach and they're such a premium product.
Absolutely.
Now, what's your first ever memory of an RC race, Jeff, that you were in?
I mean,
was it a win? Was it a lose? Was it a flame out?
No, to be honest, I do remember it was at the Crossroads track, which was in Sydney, where I grew up. Now it's a Bunnings, but we still actually, when we travel to Moorebank to race, we stay at a hotel that's right next door.
Right.
So it's just a bit of history. But it was at the Crossroads. It was 1/10 scale two-wheel drive, so the same as what you had, Brett.
Yep.
And it was my first club day with my dad. We'd have practice before that, but I made the B main final.
Wow.
And back in those days, that was a pretty good achievement because they had down to D mains because we had lots of drivers.
Yep.
And I was fortunate to win that. So I won my first B final on my first club day and was pumped. Yeah. So that was my first memory.
What age were you then?
That would have been seven or 8.
7. Wow. That is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was Nitro, 7 years old. And I wasn't the only youngster doing it, but that was fond memory of mine.
That's well done.
Well, I'm sure old Johnny would have fixed you up a pretty good car to race, mate.
Oh yeah, he probably put in a little bit less effort than he did his own, but he kept me going for sure.
Yeah.
So.
And you have raced all around the world, haven't you, Jeff?
I wouldn't say all around, but I've done a few races in a few different countries, yeah, for sure.
And what's been your highest achievement in the RC world outside of Australia? Or
so far, 4th place at a World Championships.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, which was in what year was that now? With COVID, 2019 in the US, so in California. I managed a 4th place with this little guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That is super impressive, though, on the world stage to be number 4, you know?
Yeah, just to be racing with those guys and the caliber of drivers. And, you've got 100 of the best guys across the world that a lot of them do it for a living as well. And, on a track you spend a week at and everyone's on point. It's to just make the final or even a semi-final at the world stage is phenomenal. A huge achievement. So, really lucky and, the right people around me at the right time to make it into the final and get a result.
And that's obviously why you are one of the fastest guys in Australia. I mean, obviously the world, absolutely.
We'll go that far, but there's
well, you were at that point.
You've got to be. It's a race is a race. You've got you got to be right place, right time, and not all the races go that way.
The breakages or whatsoever, something
little things.
happens.
You can have belts that strip and all sorts of little things that don't go your way.
But preparation is always very, very important, obviously.
Preparation is key
because that helps to prevent some of these things, obviously.
100%.
And what do you think really, for somebody who's up and coming, or for somebody who wants to take their racing to a next level, how do you think that they could improve their race game? How can they actually get to win more races?
Simple answer to that one is practice. So practice makes perfect. Get down to your local club, cut laps. The other thing that will make you better is racing against other people that are better than you at the point.
Sure.
So competition breeds, better drivers, but the biggest thing is laps with RC, in my opinion. The other thing you can do is jump online and do some virtual racing on VRC.
Right.
That can help.
Been popular, hadn't it?
Yeah. It also brings out the competition side because you can play online against guys.
Yep.
But you can't substitute anything for natural laps.
So how often would you be practicing?
It depends. I like to try to hit the track at least once a week. Just to do some laps or test some new products or do some setup changes. But in the lead up to, say, a race like this, if I'm going to do a flyaway and, it's important to perform really well, I usually try to hit the track maybe 3 or 4 times for the 2 weeks leading up.
Wow.
Yep. Just to prep and make sure everything's, get the rust out of it and get everything flowing and set up. Yeah.
Okay.
That's really cool. So do you bring, fresh engines to this race? Like they're obviously going to be run in, but like how fresh would the engine be that you're going to start up like on Sunday?
I always try to bring like a new motor, so one that I
Yeah.
haven't raced in a proper final yet.
Yep.
Along with a couple of motors that I know their history. They might be my latest club motor, or one that I saved that I know that's pretty good. So with the Nitro motors, they can be very temperamental and have different characteristics between them all. But usually for an event like this, I'll have a nice fresh motor, and that will go into a club motor after the event.
Right.
So pretty much each event calls for a new motor.
Reasonably new. I wouldn't say
Reasonably,
new.
yeah.
But
And then you pass it on to the practice and club days, and then for the next big event, you break in a new one and
try to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And hopefully you don't do any damage while you're at the event, and you can have a nice bank of engines at the end. Yeah.
Wow.
And for a big race like this, Jeff, did you bring a mechanic with you this weekend, or do you rely on somebody at the club to help you out?
Yeah, this race was actually pretty tough. A lot of people still working and weren't able to take time off and come down with me to join me. Usually my partner Bryony will be my pit girl.
Yeah.
But again, tied up with work, so she couldn't join me this weekend. So I've got a couple of people that have offered to give me a hand. But yeah, one of the other Serpent team guys hopefully will help me out while I'm here.
Cool. Because I imagine being a 8 scale pitman in a final to be quite stressful, no? With tire changes and refueling and.
Absolutely, yeah. You've got a lot of responsibility, and when you get a result, it's a team effort.
Absolutely.
It's not just the driver, because we do a little bit of it, but a lot of it can happen in the pits, and even your strategy that needs to change on the fly. Yeah. So having a good pit guy is big part of the team.
And goes back to lots of experience. Like the pit guy is someone who has lots of experience, has raced himself, and has the understanding of the race and what to change if filling the engine and keeping an eye on the time, see how much fuel it puts in between fuel stops, and strategize is actually really important.
Hugely important. A strategy can win you a race or lose your race for sure, especially when you've got guys that like we're racing this weekend that are ultra fast at their home track. A couple of seconds in the pits can be the be all and
then get a couple more laps in, and it makes a huge difference.
100%.
The finals are actually very long, right? A lot of people may not realize how long they are.
Yeah, so for a state title, we run 30-minute finals.
Yep.
And up to a world champs, we run 1 hour.
1 hour.
So in Australia, our longest is 45 minutes, which is a national title.
Yep.
But the world's 60 minutes, which is a lot of fuel stops.
Yes.
In a half hour final, Jeff, will you have to change the tires on your 8 scale?
I would dare say it depends on the track, and it depends on competition as well, how hard you've got to push. But generally speaking, we try not to, because the risk versus reward is quite high changing tires. You can get a fumble in the pits and lose a lot of position. Whereas if you drive a little bit slower through the race, you can avoid the tire change and avoid that risk. So I'd say this race we probably will change tires, just based on the surface here in Melbourne.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'll be there Sunday to come and have a look. That's for sure. I'll be coming out on Sunday to have a look.
Excellent.
Just make sure I'm not in pit lane.
Good. All right, you're in safe hands.
All right, boys. Well, I might leave it with you to have a good look over the cars and have a chat with Jeff. I'll get out of the frame.
Awesome, Brett.
I'll walk from the stalls.
Cool.
Alrighty.
Well, pop some questions on the chat here, and we can focus on specific things as we go.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you,
Alright.
Brett.
See you guys.
See you later.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. So we've got quite a few people tonight, actually. So Tony joining us. Welcome, Tony, Peter.
Hello.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to actually go through the cars. What do you think? Shall we start from this thing here?
Yep, the Taipan.
And then we end up with this super special at the end.
Why
Sounds
not?
good.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So how about let's make a bit of room.
Let's put a bit of room. So let's put this one here. I'll put the top camera so we can have a good look from the top. All right. So what car is this? Jeff was just mentioning before, this is a bit of a special car, isn't it?
It is a reasonably special car, yeah. So this car is the Serpent 988 Taipan. The reason it's called a Taipan is it is a pan car. So you can see on the bottom here, the actual chassis is connected.
That's a little bit easier.
For the white.
Yep.
That's the way.
Oh, look at that. I mean, That's full carbon.
Full carbon. So the rear suspension is actually just in this T-bar here.
Yep.
So it's very similar to a 112 scale fan car. This particular car, actually, I've modified to have front suspension. So the normal car doesn't. It's just a locked front end.
Yep.
And it kind of designed for a class that never really took off, especially here in Australia. The nitro scene's still too popular than the electric.
Yep.
But it's a very basic car that doesn't require any setup, and it's just all about brute power and grip. So yeah, this is the Taipan.
So these are your four-wheel drive, as you can see. So you have, for those that are not familiar with this, you've got your rear axle here, which is a solid axle.
Solid axle,
yeah.
Yeah. Full T-bar.
So direct drive. Then you have a belt going here, going all the way across to give power to the front, and that's probably a one-way, isn't it?
It is a one-way, yes. So the benefit with the one-way is when you're on power, you've got complete four-wheel drive.
Yep.
So all four wheels are rotating and powered by the motor. When you are off power, the front wheels actually disengage and they can free spin.
Yep.
Which allows the car to turn in a lot sharper than a four-wheel drive car.
Okay.
Wow. So talking about power, so you're a Dash team driver. So Dash is part of Aromax, for which we are the distributor. So you're using the 1.8 combo here, something that we've been using a lot on our GT cars as well. So talk us through a bit about the combo that you're using here.
So I'm using the Dash 2150 kV motor, paired up with the AI Max, which is the 8-scale speed controller.
Yep.
We run twin 2-cell, so the 14.8 volt. We don't have any of the AI Max batteries in at the moment, but I usually try to run about an 8,000 milliamp pack. And yeah, plenty powerful enough to get this thing going about 115 down the back straight at the home.
115
on track, yeah. The it peters out on the aerodynamics rather than the actual performance. So
right.
Wow. So what kind of settings do you have? Much turbo and timing, or do you run that pretty stock?
Pretty standard, yeah. So the kit setup with the Aeromax is pretty spot on for anyone to use. I've played with the turbo and the boost just to get that extra little bit, but the performance gain versus the extra battery usage is negligible. So
right. Brilliant. Well, so this is a combo that we've been using for our GT cars and also the off-road buggy. So on the off-road buggy, we put the 1900 kV. On the GT, we went all the way up to the 2600, which is probably a bit much.
But,
gonna go fast, obviously.
Yep.
We use the GT at the velodrome, so we've done a velodrome race here, and that's phenomenal.
That'll be fun.
So so it's coming up soon again.
Yes,
actually in 3 weeks. So we'll have some GT going with the Dash combo, really. So last year we blocked one.
Yep.
We're trying to go too fast.
Yeah,
it was really fast.
That's what you got to do.
Last year. Pretty good. What else do we know about this car? Obviously, you've got quick release wheel that we're going to see on the other car too. So it's pretty similar kind of technology.
Yep.
And you were saying that this car was originally designed for drag racing.
Kind of, yeah. So the in America and different places across the world, people get into different forms of RC, I guess.
Yeah.
And one has stemmed to be top speed runs and also drag racing. So a lot of the top speed guys want a car that can handle a 1/8 scale combo.
Yep.
They want to go fast, obviously.
Yes.
And also strength in the drivetrain.
Yes.
So you can't really get too much stronger than a steel solid rear axle.
Yep.
Which is pretty beefy. It's not going to twist or break.
It's huge.
This is what a lot of guys would like to use on the velodrome, I think.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I didn't know this thing existed almost.
Yeah.
That would be brilliant to use at the velodrome.
And the best part about it is the limited setup. So we've got rear ride height. That's just with some shims, some cambers, and some toe settings on the front. That's pretty much it.
Very resilient too, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you have a bit of a bang, you may survive. Brilliant. Very good. And so obviously twin battery here.
Twin batteries there, yeah.
Twin batteries is quite balanced as well. And 14.8 volts, so lots of speed.
Yeah, plenty of power.
Yes.
And we got the rear body mount, which stems from the Nitro car, which is the aided aero straight onto the rear bulkheads. And also on the front, straight on over the front axle to the bumper.
That's it.
To give you the max grip.
And at the moment, you're using the same tires that you use on your
Nitro car?
Yeah, Nitro car,
Yeah, so the best part of the Taipan is the interchangeable parts between the two, and the tires, once they become too small for the Nitro car, we can just put them over to the electric car and
off you go.
Double dip, run it on the rim.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Yeah, Brett wants one for the velodrome. That's it. All right. We're gonna keep it for the next weeks.
Yeah,
it's actually perfect. This is brand new, isn't it? You haven't run it yet.
No, it's been raced.
Really?
There's something about direct drive cars that are just amazing.
Especially direct drive electric, just instant
Yeah,
power. And
That's it.
Yeah.
So you're not scratching the chassis.
That chassis is new because I did have a bit of a bingle.
Oh, here we go. Finally,
There
we're
you go.
there.
That's why it
Took a
looks
while
so
to
fresh.
get there.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it was a bit of a back straight sort of into the fence moment.
Oh, okay. Yes, those things can happen.
Yes.
This carbon is really cool, like with the matte finish like this. It's very
It looks
special.
really pro, doesn't it?
It does.
We've seen pro stuff before, but that looks aerospace.
Brilliant. Great. So let's see if anyone has any question as we go through, but pop it in a comment and then we will address them. So I guess we should move to the beast.
The beast.
All right, the new beast. All right.
Here we go.
Yeah, let's go.
Well, this is just cool to look at it.
Yeah, so for me, this is like the pinnacle of RC. I guess heritage as well. You know, 1/8 scale is probably one of the first Nitro classes, I think.
Yes.
Way back in the day.
Yep.
They started off as 2-wheel drive and band cars just like the Taipan and have evolved into 4-wheel drive, 2-speed sort of beast. But yeah, this is the 989. You can see with the body is probably the first differing point of most RC cars.
Yep.
The aerodynamic shape and the I guess the flow of like a Le Mans style car. The body shell makes a huge difference with setup and lap time as well. So yeah, it's a crucial part of the car and the way it handles.
Just looking at the shape of the body, I mean, it already gives you an impression of how quick this is going to go. I mean, a large majority of it is basically wing.
Yeah, it's almost like the old slot cars.
That's it. The open wings.
Yeah.
So I take you have different bodies that you take with you at every race.
Yeah, so we've got different style bodies,
Yeah.
but also we have them mounted forward and back differently.
All right. Okay.
So about a millimeter, 2 millimeters forward and back can make a huge
Massive
difference in balance.
Yeah. Wow.
When you sort of see the markings on the body already, there's lines there to guide you where you can move it front and back. Where
So-
you want to drill it out.
It's very, this body is the new body by Blitz.
Right.
It comes with all the pre-markings on it, which is really handy when you're cutting it out.
Yep.
But there's also other bodies on the market that come pre-cut now.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So a headache in 1/8 scale racing was always cutting the body because you've
Yes,
got so
that's
many things popping out of it.
Yep.
Whereas now you can purchase one that's pre-done and just slide it over.
Right.
paint it.
Wow. So pre-cut. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
So I imagine all this must be pretty stiff.
Yeah, so that's probably another thing in the in 8 scale racing that every gram counts.
Yep.
So it's like Formula One. You want
That's
to keep everything super light.
Yes.
Same with the body shell. So
Right.
the highest thing on the car is the body shell.
Yep.
You want to keep it as light as possible.
Yep.
The way to do that is sacrifice the strength of it.
Right.
So the thinner plastic, it's lighter,
Okay.
but
That's
it's weaker.
I guess it's a trade-off because if it's too thin, you can have some deflection with the wind.
Yep.
And then we'll catch at the front. As soon as you know, for those watching, let's see if you can pop it here. If you have the wind is going to push down here, and you have a risk of lifting the body at the front and
Yep.
flip the car up.
And all you have to do is clip that ripple strip in
Yep.
the wrong way and get a little bit of air under it,
That's it.
which is all over.
Right.
So what is the top speed here?
This, it's probably aero limited as well. So
Yeah.
it's about 120 down
Wow.
a back straight of my home track in Queensland. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Oh,
The
the
Victorian
120.
track is a little bit shorter.
Yep.
So we gear it slightly different. And I'd say I haven't had a speed trap
Yeah.
reading down here, but I'd say probably 110-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, shall we remove the body?
Let's do it.
Let's see it naked.
That's it. Okay, so let's jump on the top camera. That's probably the most interesting part here. Shall we talk? Do you want to talk about what the different components are? I guess for many of us watching here, they probably haven't seen something like this. You know, I would suggest more used to the traditional touring car, electric touring car. That a lot less complex. There's gearing here as well. That is, I guess, a concept that we don't see very often in electric cars.
Yep.
So give us a rundown to what's involved in the chassis here.
Yeah. So, I mean, you touched on the gearing. They all run a 2-speed gearbox.
Yep.
The way that works is actually pretty, I guess, interesting and a little bit sort of primitive, but it's been a design that's worked for the time they brought it out, which Serpent was actually the first people to make the 2-speed gearbox, which is interesting fact. But it runs off a one-way gearbox. So the first gear is a one-way.
Yep.
The second gear runs off a centrifugal style clutch.
Yep.
And once you hit a certain amount of revs, it will engage and take over from the one-way bearing. So that's a crucial part also of the setup of the car, to keep that gear ratio and change on the power band of the motor.
Yep.
So being a 2-stroke motor, they have they make power at high RPM.
Yes.
And at a certain rev range, they make their total horsepower, and you want to make sure that
Be spot on.
you try to keep that in the window of power. So with that, also we've got a clutch on the motor.
Yep.
Same sort of principle. It's a spring-loaded centrifugal style clutch, which is completely adjustable. It's probably one of the most crucial things on the 1/8 scale car.
Yep.
So we want to get this car from 0 to 100 as quick as we can.
Yep.
And the clutch allows you to do that by, trying to bring the motor up to its full RPM and then banging the clutch in and accelerating it. So on top of that is the pipe. Obviously, like a two-stroke motorbike.
Yep.
Super important.
Yes.
We can change lengths of manifolds to suit different tracks and put that power range where we want it.
Yeah.
It's
So that's your manifold here. So this one, the different curves as well, isn't it?
yeah, we have different curves,
shapes,
and
and
it's actually quite radical. This one,
yeah, it looks like
it's been the latest sort of trend, I
right.
would say, to come straight out of the motor.
Yep.
A lot of the other ones sort of come down and make the car look a bit neater.
Yes.
Whereas these sit up a bit
Direct.
higher, but they do seem to make a difference in lap time. And if the car looks the way it does, it's
And noise as well, I take.
No, noise
No,
is about
really?
the same.
Okay,
right.
So it's actually very, I guess, limited by the INS box, which I don't have on the car at the moment, but it's the air filter.
Yep.
So like the airbox in a normal car, it suppresses the noise a lot. So that's
Right.
sort of the limitation on it.
So these pipes are also multi-chamber, right? So there's a twin chamber pipe.
Yeah. So I believe they're a 3-chamber.
Oh, 3-chamber.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's as part of the IFMAR rules.
Right.
It's got to be a 3-chamber pipe.
Right.
And if you look inside it, you can see the conical with the holes in the
Right.
correct position.
Yep.
But again, pipes, huge difference in performance.
Right. So I guess talking about pipe, so that's the engine which we were talking about before. It's like they're probably the fastest engines in the Nitro kind of market, really.
Yep.
And they rev. What kind of RPM did they get up to?
So the 1/8 scale motors would probably around the 44,000-46,000 RPM.
Wow.
Yeah, full noise.
That's it.
Well, that's what my motors do. And
Yep.
some others in the world might do a little bit faster if they're,
Well, you buy the motor, but obviously this is probably a bit modified motor, isn't it? Is it?
No, this you can buy off the shelf.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So they do come pre-modified.
It's a good
And
looking motor.
yeah. This head actually is a prototype, so I'm not sure if it should be on the camera, but we've already put it.
Sorry.
Oh yeah. Right. Sorry.
But it's world exclusive. There you go.
That's
It's right
it.
here first.
So this is a max, right?
It is
Max.
max power.
So that's one of your sponsors, obviously.
It is. He's in Italy and been a long time sponsor for me.
Right. Very good.
So the heads are quite a bit smaller than the off-road type heads.
Yes. So less fins and smaller.
Yep.
Makes them a little bit more, I guess, susceptible to temperature versus the buggy. They're a bit easier to keep on tune.
Yep.
But yeah, also light. We're trying to keep weight low and.
That's a very special material by the look of it.
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to say what it is,
No.
but it's an
Hush,
alloy of some description.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Lots of holes to keep it light as well and increase the cooling.
Yep.
So obviously the cooling is a very important part.
It
So
is, yeah, extremely.
It's important to do that. And so we said 46,000 RPM. That's crazy. And about, was it 4 or 5 horsepower? 4 horsepower?
I don't think I've
No?
ever measured. Yeah,
I remember reading ages ago that you were looking at about 4-ish horsepower, but I may be wrong on this.
yeah. I know some guys have had dynos and whatnot,
Yeah,
but not sure what the power rating was on them. Yeah.
Very good. We've got Louis Sola joining us.
Lovely.
There we go. I guess, and when Liz has been racing for a long time as well. Very good. So we've done the engine. So drivetrain, again, a four-wheel drive car, this one.
Full drive car, same as the Taipan. So we've got a solid axle. This one's a little bit different. We can pop a tire off here. So because we've run a independent rear suspension, we've got to have CVDs and a different style. So we've got a solid axle here and CVDs out to your wheel axles there, which are alloy as well. So versus the Taipan, you sacrifice that weight for some performance and in material. And same sort of deal. We've got the belt running up to the front here and onto the one-way shaft, and again with some CVDs for lightweight.
So the alloy CVDs here.
Yeah. So that's an option for the Serpent.
Okay.
They come stand with the steel.
Yep.
But optional to keep the weight down. Rotation. Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's so quick to get the tire off, wasn't it? Quick release.
That is something really exciting. Well, obviously these are, look at the size of the tires. That's huge. Well, would it be nice to have a touring car tire here, 1/10, where we about, I don't know, a third roughly.
Yeah.
Just to give it a perspective. So these are hot race. Tires.
Yes.
So hot race are probably one of the largest and best manufacturer in Italy of foam tires, and hot race is going to become one of our suppliers as well. So we'll be selling their 1/10 off-road range.
Fantastic.
It's actually should arrive very, very soon. But as you say, it's super easy to remove the tire from these cars.
Yeah, really quick. The rears are a little bit quicker than the fronts because the fronts can bob around a little bit. But you can usually do a tire change in about, I think it's 4.5 seconds was the quickest.
Wow.
That was seen with two guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's lightning fast.
4.5 seconds. Wow.
I believe it's 4.5. Don't quote me, but it's quick.
Still,
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most exciting part of racing Nitro is the fuel stop and tire change.
Yeah.
That makes it really exciting.
For sure. I mean, when you're in a race and you're doing a tire change, that moment when you're in the pits and the tire change happened, your mechanics called you to do the change, it's like, hold your breath.
Yeah.
Hopefully your team can, pull through and get the job done without any incidences. And, when these cars the motors are 120 degrees and they're on their side and the fuel's, blocked off, easily can flame out and cost you laps in the race.
Yes.
You can be leading and 0 to hero very quickly.
And also, as you enter the pits, you were saying before, something can happen. But when you exit the pits after having the car on the side and having done some refueling, some tricks as well.
Oh, yeah.
That you need to be ultra gentle.
Yeah, you got to blip that throttle and clear the pipe out.
Yeah, not too hard, not too soft.
It's got to be just right. Goldilocks racing.
That's it.
I'm quite intrigued by this weight in the center. So in this hole here where the fuel tank would normally be, so just under there, you can see the brass weight and how it's been screwed onto this rail here where you can change whereabouts that weight's going to be.
Yeah. So just like the body, the distribution of the weight plays a huge role in the car balance and handling.
Yep.
So with the 989 as well, I'll just flick this over. We've usually got a bridge in the front here as well.
Right.
So we can move weight on a slide, but obviously I'm not using it at the moment.
Yep.
But the position of the weight and the amount of weight is, it's a huge setup.
What is the minimum legal racing weight?
So they do change it quite a lot as cars develop and become, more technically advanced. They usually lower it. And at the moment, it's 2350 grams, so 2.3 kilos.
Okay.
And I think you're always on the point, are you?
So the problem that we have with the foam tires is they do wear and they change weight as they wear.
Yep.
So the rules state that the car needs to be weighed with tires on it, but it doesn't determine what size. So it's up to you how far you want to close the limit for a final. So if you run a 30-minute final, you need to guess
how much weight you're going to lose on the tires,
and then put enough weight on there so you don't get disqualified from the race, and try to be as light as possible. So usually about 2-3 grams I try to aim for at the end of a race. And sometimes that hasn't paid off. And
that's pretty tight, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
You want to work to the edge.
On the limit.
Yep.
These things are all about everything on the limit.
Brilliant.
Wow.
So obviously your fuel tank is missing. That goes in the middle there.
I just flew, so didn't have the tank in there.
So that obviously, just for those watching us, obviously there's a fuel tank that goes through, and the fuel obviously goes through this line here and into your engine on this side here.
Yep. So this is the pressure line. So the pressure line will feed exhaust pressure into the top of the fuel tank.
Yep.
Which then feeds it up to the carburetor. Yep.
So you've got a filter there as well?
So that's what we call a pressure chamber.
Okay.
So like we were just sort of discussing when the car's on its side, and it's because we run these cars on the limit.
Yep.
As the fuel runs down in the tank, the pressure changes the volume.
Yep.
So that just compensates a little bit.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Again, on smack on the limit. You don't need that if you're not trying to screw the last bit of horsepower out of it.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. So I guess under here we've got the receiver pack.
That is.
So it just lives under here.
Yes.
And then this side we've got all the electronics.
Yep. So running the Sanwa servos, a lithium polymer 7.4 volt battery rack.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, again, servos, big difference between running something at the highest standard versus not.
Absolutely.
But, big difference in feel.
We don't have much experience in the Sanwa, but we use Savox, and then you move to an MKS, for example, and not to discredit either or. Obviously, the cost of servo is double.
Yep.
But the feel is actually substantially different.
Yeah.
And I guess specifically on when you look at the throttle, you need to have that speed and responsiveness makes a massive difference, I'm sure.
Definitely, yeah. And I guess with some servos on the market, you can program them these days.
Yes.
It's a little bit like speed controllers. You can, change the feel and the dynamic, the way it works. So that now plays a big key part into that as well.
What are you looking for when you program a servo, actually?
Well, for me personally, I have different modes set up on my radio. So depending on what the car feels like at the time, I can select between a mode and get that right feeling for me on the track at the time. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's very interesting because I'm not at the level of playing with a servo, but we have put a couple of Futaba servo on a 7PX, and you have all these settings. It's like almost overwhelming, to be honest.
It is very overwhelming. It's a minefield, and you can change so many different things into, they will counteract each other, but that's why I have different settings that are sort of pre-programmed.
Yeah.
And that way I don't have to think about it. I can just flick a button, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. And since we're talking about servos, so we've got the steering servo here, and you've got the throttle servo here, which operates your carburetor and then also the brakes.
Yes.
Do you have different types of servos for each one here, or do you use the same?
I personally do.
Yep.
So we've got in the Sanwa range, there's two styles of servos, a speed versus a torque.
Yep.
So I use the torque one in the throttle, just for those brakes and longevity.
Right.
Yeah, because I think the servo, just that extra bit of torque under the heat, the pressure. Whereas with the steering, I personally, it's a personal thing. It's all about the speed.
Yep.
So it's, the faster the servo for me, the more feel I can get from it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's, again, it's all personal preference. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Okay, and then looking back, we've got the receiver in this box here.
Yes.
Which is a pretty funky looking box there.
Super tiny.
And you got the little antenna. I guess with modern receivers, they don't really have much of an antenna anymore. Some of them don't even have one at all, right?
Yeah. It actually gets me a little bit worried sometimes because you're used to having these big antennas coming out of your car.
Yeah, that's it.
How did that work back in the day? But everything seems really compact now.
Cool. Okay, so with that, we've got the electronics, and then so we've got the servo here for your steering. Goes to the bell crank, and then looking at that, it looks like it's got quite a few adjustments available there as well.
Yep. Lots of Ackerman adjustments.
Yep.
So we can fine tune the feel of the steering again. Obviously, we're talking a lot about steering. It's power and steer.
Yep.
That's what makes the car go around the track really fast.
Yes.
But it's too many setup options there for me. I usually get confused with Ackerman, like a lot of people.
Yeah.
But usually, if I find something that works, we can keep it at that.
That's fair. Okay, and then from there, so we've got steering rods, and then we've got the captured balls.
Yep. So pivot ball suspension.
Yep. And then we've got the sway bar down in here. Is there anything particularly different with the Serpent H-scale car compared to other brands?
That's a good question. I'm not hugely familiar with other brands.
Yep.
But generally speaking, the formula is the same.
Right.
So, there's nothing too crazy different about this versus the other brands of cars.
Yep.
They all have their different intricacies and, positives and negatives.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, they're all, carbon top deck, aluminium chassis, four-wheel drive's the same, two-speed's the same. The designs are all very similar. They all seem to be trending in using lighter weight materials, a lot more carbon fiber, a lot more alloy versus plastic. One thing we do have that's probably a little different from some of the other cars is we can adjust our arm stiffness.
Right.
So it's not a huge, I know we do that with off-road a fair bit, but with on-road, it hasn't really been a thing since this car. So we have little plates. They're probably a bit hard to see, but
are they on the top of the arm?
Yeah,
you
you
can
can see the screws holding them down.
Yep.
Let's see. Get a bit close on this side.
Yeah, so these plates currently are plastic. So they're the standard ones that do come with it.
So we have a similar concept in the hot bodies where you have these plates. You can even put a carbon plate, I guess, or different thickness.
Yep.
And it's just in here. So it's a kind of a plate you put on top of the arm to just give more or less flex.
Exactly. So you can remove screws to sort of fine tune it and change the materials to carbon as well.
It's really hard to see, but it's in here.
Yeah.
You can sort of just see it, I think.
See a couple of screws there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty unique to our car.
Okay.
Another car actually that has hit the market pretty recently over the last couple of years is the Infinity.
Yep.
Its front suspension design is actually very different than their latest car.
Right.
So they've got a pivot ball on the bottom from what I can see, and they adjust it differently to our car. But it seems to be a different style or approach on the same sort of thing.
Okay. So I guess talking about the front end again, we've got the upper arm here. You've got all these spaces here where you can move either the arm forward or backwards for caster adjustment.
Yep.
I guess with pivot ball we do have a lot of adjustment already because you can adjust the track.
Yep. So you track, you tow, you camber from the pivot balls. We can also move this arm up and down.
Right. Okay.
So you can change our roll center on the front.
Okay.
And actually, now that we're talking about it, we do have another function which is probably a little different than some of the other cars. This has come from the predecessor, the 988.
Yep.
Put it up here.
Yep.
This section here, we can actually change I guess it's a semi-caster adjustment, sort of kingpin inclination.
Yep.
But we can change this setting from leading, trailing, and neutral.
Wow.
Right.
Which is a bit different, and just to add a different feel again.
So it's just got those pill inserts there.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yep. So we can change them to a trailing or a leading.
Okay.
Which just changes the steering feel and direction change. Yeah.
Oh wow. Wow, a lot of adjustment.
Brett is asking if it does come with a blade style sway bars.
Blade style. So blade styles are a little bit old technology.
Yeah.
So the trend has become wire bars, like a lot of the other cars and buggies and stuff on the market. So no, it doesn't come with a blade. It's all bar.
Yeah.
Because bar is something we're fairly familiar with because they've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so bar, I guess you can see it. There's just the cross beam across here, and it just folds towards the back.
Mhm.
And I guess it's the same on the rear end as well.
Yes.
Substantially thicker one on the back.
Yep. So in 8 scale, it's all about trying to get that steering because we've got such a big tire on the back and such a small tire on the front.
Right.
So trying to lose the rear grip.
Right.
Yeah.
We try to run the rear end a lot stiffer than the front, generally speaking.
Okay.
But again, that's all personal preference, and try not to give too many of my competitors
that's
the edge, you know.
That's
So
it.
keep the secrets.
I guess I always like these the body mount as well. It's all linked in.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I just actually when I squeeze it here.
Yep.
Let's try and see how that body mounts.
Body mounts
Hopefully you can
well.
see it. Yeah, it moves in relation to the suspension movement as well because of these arms.
All connected straight to the hub, and you get the aerodynamic pressure directly to the wheel, not through any springs, and you don't lose any of it. So it's direct. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thinking behind the disc here, is that to keep debris out of the wheel or?
Well, it's a little of a subject where I don't think too many people know exactly how it works.
Right.
But it seems to give you more steering.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So another little tip that hopefully no one's watching that I'll be racing against this weekend. The carbon, I don't know whether it stiffens the hub or it's aerodynamic. The original creation of it was aerodynamic.
Right.
To stop any air flowing in through the wheels.
Right.
So that could still be a thing, but I can't measure it. All I can do is check the lap time
and see that
after I've done it, and it's usually faster with those discs on. So
so this is an option, is it?
that is an option.
Right,
So
okay.
we do make them for the front as well. That's what
Okay.
these 2 little holes
Oh,
are.
I see.
Most cars these days have the option for them.
Right.
So it was a trend that I think one of the other brands started. And, it's everyone's adapted it.
Well, either way, they still look really good.
They look awesome. So
They look cool.
when you've got all 4 on, they look super cool.
Yeah.
Really
Really
try to
bright.
run them if you can.
That's
you
it.
know?
That's it. I noticed the front shocks are a lot lower compared to the rear one. And it's a completely different level, actually.
Yeah, that just seems to be a thing that has become a trend as well.
Trend, yeah.
I think the shocks are so laid down for the bodies, so you can fit everything
That's right.
Right.
as low as you can. Most of the bodies do have sort of bulges for the shock caps,
Yeah.
so they're that tight under there. Yeah.
I quite like this body support that's in the center here too.
Yeah, that's a Jeff Hamon optional.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah.
You got one of your competitors here.
Oh.
Look at this guy.
Oh, Jesse, classic. So Jesse is definitely, I'd rate him sort of the benchmark of Australian nitro racing. So he's the local Victorian here, and
That's it.
the guy that's probably going to give me the most grief this
Right,
weekend
okay.
for sure. He's super quick in every track, but he's the factory driver for Infinity.
Infinity, yeah.
Yeah.
good stuff.
And a super cool guy.
And he's installing the carbon plates just now.
And more than likely, he'll already have them on his car from today.
Right.
But yeah.
Cool.
Excellent. Okay.
What else?
Have we missed anything?
Brakes.
Brakes.
So
Oh, yes.
you don't use them. They're useless.
Really?
No, they only slow down in any RC. But we've got a brake lever on the back here
Yep.
with a disc on the middle lay shaft. So when we do use the brakes, it's only rear wheel. So
Yep.
when we explained before, the one way in the front,
Yep.
It works in reverse. So if we apply the brake, we've only got rear wheel,
Yep.
which makes it really difficult sometimes with adjusting how much pressure you want to use on the trigger. Some tracks you use a bit more, other tracks you don't. But most of the time with the cars, when you turn in, you wash a lot of the speed off anyways, just from the sheer amount of grip.
Right.
So usually with the 8 scale, depending on your style, you usually use the steering rather than the brake.
Okay.
Right.
So, if you can
So in Lilydale, for those that are in Melbourne, you've got a really long back straight and a part corner at the end, isn't it?
Yep.
So no brakes.
No brakes.
Really?
Yeah.
That what makes really difficult driving this 1/8 scale, because it's just about drifting the car into the corner, isn't it?
They're always sideways because the locked rear axle. One wheel's always slipping. So I'm sure if Jesse's still watching, he'll be flat out through the sweeper.
Wow.
He won't lift.
Oh.
And definitely
So on the power too.
On the power. So when you're on the power with the 8 scale, you gain steering because of that 4-wheel drive. So the more you use the throttle, the more steering, the better lifetime.
Wow.
Right.
So you need to have guts to get in there 110 k's an hour and just keep it on, isn't it?
You got to have definite guts and a lot of practice. That's where the practice comes in, knowing how much you can hold that throttle on. And that's Jesse's an expert at that one.
Yeah.
He's a drift king. But to do that in Lilydale is a bit of a feat.
That's it. You confirm full power.
There it is.
Excellent.
That's it.
Yep.
Very good. All right, guys. So if you have any question on the car, just let us know. In the meantime, someone is asking, where can I buy some stickers?
Wow.
Yeah. That's it.
So that's my other business. I run jspecstickers.com. So if you do need decals and whatnot, hit me up. We've got the website and the socials. But or shirts and hats.
Jeff has been doing all our racing shirts. So the Hearns racing shirt coming from with Jeff. And what we has here is a limited edition car that has special sticker made.
Yeah, some custom Hearns racing and some of these Tamiya decals there as well. Really high quality.
This is really cool. They cut really nice, actually.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for the support.
No worries. Excellent.
Very
You
good.
do a really good job on those. And I guess, do we have anything else?
No,
Any other questions?
Let's look at your sponsors for one more time. Put the body
Sure.
on. That looks really cool. So you can see a Serpent factory driver.
Yep.
Aromax. So you have Sema. Dash.
Also Dash for the
Yep.
EP. Hot Race Tires.
All race tires. Yep.
Max Power Engines. And T-Works and
That's
Avid
it.
for the
Yes.
accessories.
Yes.
Yep, titanium screws and all the bling stuff.
Yep.
And it's fueled by VP.
VP. VP. Yes.
And don't forget JSpec.
Oh,
And
and
Jess.
you always forget yourself. It's sponsored by JSpec. Yeah.
That's it.
So I can see in this body you have a white body and you printed the sticker, right?
Yeah. So this is a really lazy body.
It's really still effective.
It's the first one that I've done for this sort of style. I've just adapted some. I like to keep a color scheme throughout my life, and I've just adapted a bit of blue into this one. But yeah, super easy with JSpec stickers. Just to spray one can Tamiya white PS1 and slap some stickers on. So these will be available on the website soon, probably once I get back.
Yeah.
But that's probably another little exclusive for the
Perfect.
Hearns show.
They look
Brilliant.
good. They definitely look good.
Very effective, because often preparing bodies is time consuming, and I guess painting something like that requires some skills, really.
Yeah.
And with a sticker, you can make something really effective, and rather than going out with a white body, that is
Definitely.
just very lazy normally, factory driver.
Usually with the 1/8 scale, like I said, it's so time consuming to cut out and prepare and to make sure everything fits perfectly. That by the time you've cut it out, you don't really want to be masking and painting and whatnot. And
Absolutely.
a lot of airbrushes charge a lot of money for the 8 scales because of the wings and the size and whatnot. So
yeah, it's actually really intricate to be able to paint inside.
Yeah.
Inside the wing is actually really thin up here.
Yeah.
So
even just doing one color to get paint up there is annoying enough.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, since we've got the body on, you can see that the engine head actually sticks out from the top of the body. And then this is where your INS filter is going to be sitting there.
Yes.
And then this is the cutout for, let's move this over here so it's a bit easier to see. That's the cutout for the tank. So that's for your easy fuel stops, I guess, to refuel. And then you've got your little hole there to adjust the needle.
Fuel mixture.
So everything's all there, handy, while everything's all complete. So I guess it's
you want to sort of limit how many openings you have in the body as well.
Yep.
Because you're trying to get that nice smooth flow.
Yeah.
So you want to make the gaps as little as possible.
Yep.
But you've got to have those things out to make
Be able
everything
to
nice
tune
and
it.
quick. Yeah.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Very good. All right, then.
is that it?
I think we're done.
Really?
Unless
Wow.
there's any more question coming, or unless you want to talk about something else.
Well, I think we've covered the game of 8 scale and
I think so. And
Yeah.
Serpent.
Yep.
I guess it's a brand that we all loved. We all been through some Serpent. I
Yes,
had
that's
a
right.
110 scale Serpent years ago in Italy. Since I don't even remember the number anymore. But it's just something that everyone lived, and it's brilliant to see what the technology and what he's like. The race and
Yeah,
when it
that's
come
great.
out.
yeah, and it's fantastic that the brand is still around and
I agree.
still producing some top quality stuff.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So very good.
So anyone who wants to see the race, so you've got the practice tomorrow.
So we've got practice tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll be running qualifying on Saturday.
Yep.
And then the finals and maybe qualifying, depending on the schedule, will be on Sunday.
Yep.
So
Okay.
head out to Lilydale.
Yeah.
Not sure on the street, but if you Google MRCCR,
Yep. Okay.
it's the club.
Yep.
Come out and check it out.
So straight down Maroondah Highway, isn't it?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. Should be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got one more question here.
All right.
How long does a pit stop take?
It's a good question. It depends on the person doing the pit stop.
That's it.
But I would say generally about 3.5 seconds, 4 seconds.
Oh.
So I guess for those that don't know, we use a fuel gun,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should have taken one, but it's a fuel gun that just like within a second or so, the fuel is in ready.
Yeah, and that's like another huge thing in the sport is having your modified fuel gun that flows faster than
Even
someone
faster.
else's.
Yeah.
So that's Tony was asking that question.
Yeah.
He's one of the masters at
Right.
at fueling, so he'll be fueling up his son this
That's
weekend.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
Well, I guess that's one of the more important parts of it too, the handle, right?
yeah,
Always gripping onto that handle while you're.
yeah, that roll bar. So
Yep.
so there's so many different techniques that can happen with this, and it's all pit person dependent. But
Mhm.
some people like to pick it up with the right, use their
Yep.
fingers. Others put their thumb under and try to
Right.
grab the fuel tank as they pick up.
Right.
Wow.
But fuel stops is one of those things with 1/8 scale is we've got this rule: you can't pit over the wall.
Right.
So you have to
So you
take
actually
it off.
physically hold it.
Yes.
Right.
So obviously it takes
Oh.
time to pull the car over the wall and fuel it.
So it's also
put it back.
suspended. You're not sitting onto anything.
Right. So we have certain pits in Australia that are sunken pits. So
Right.
when you stand, it's at bench level,
Yep.
and you can do it nice and easy. Others
Yep.
you've got to kneel.
Right.
But the closer you can get to that wall,
Yep.
the faster you're going to be. So you
Right.
run that risk reward again on
Wow.
fuel stops, and
Okay.
hopefully we don't get any penalised
That's it.
this weekend.
Brilliant.
Good stuff.
Very good.
That's great. This has been a huge insight.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
appreciate having the opportunity to show you viewers and
Brilliant.
everyone around this awesome sport.
It's great. And welcome in, and good luck for the weekend.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm going to need it.
Indeed. All right. Thank you again for coming, and good luck for the weekend. And we'll
Thanks so
and
much.
for everyone watching us, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be live again tomorrow afternoon,
Yes.
the usual Friday afternoon live. So talking about all hobby stuff.
Hmm.
And if you have any questions, just feel free to pop in a comment, and we'll respond to them throughout the week.
That's
Well,
it.
Thank you for watching us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.